I'm just gonna get in there and go, you need some
Yo, stop it.
I'm just reason I need this. Look at that YouTube chat. Wait, chat, should I cancel the collab now that she's watching these hippies? Oh my god. What does she want to talk about? I think she wants to analyze and do therapy and stuff. I mean, we did one 3 years ago back in the BotTube days. So it'd be good to revisit it. Hold on, let me DM her real quick. We had that lined up. Jay Aubrey video. This video's 2 years old. Why is she watching this? Oh, for research? This is what she does research on? Is these old hit pieces? Pick up the phone.
Sometime towards the end of the summer, as SNEAKO was moving a million miles a minute with the reaction content, he decided to react to a video made by fellow YouTuber Chat. In his typical, thoughtful, analytical fashion, SNEAKO spent the majority of this stream mocking Chat for her looks and discrediting her words on the basis of her being a woman, up until a certain point, where he does this.
Would. And you know, Sister was so predictable, you could tell by the way she's talking that she hasn't been properly in a long time. It's been a while. So she's on the internet making this garbage video, promoting all this feminist garbage to your lonely girls in the comment section. What you really need, Chat, is yeah, shut up with your feminism. Yeah, come here.
Oh my god.
That's what you need. That's what you need. You need some sense back into you.
Bizarrely is suggesting Chat hasn't had sex in a while. SNEAKO goes on to hump the air and act out what appears to be him having rough sex with no one on the internet.
I can't. What the fuck, man? It was a. Oh my.
And no level of defense from SNEAKO after the fact could possibly excuse it.
Already coming in.
Yo, pick up on cord. Let's do it. Let's do it now. Let's do it now. Let's do it now before she watches too much of this video.
Yeah, I saw SNEAKO. I just messaged you back. If you're a is this a robot? SFOB9B feels like a straight robot.
Huh?
If there's a mod in chat, you can nuke it.
Did she friend me?
I'm being grumpy with you if you come with a whole lot of fucking robots. Just gotta say.
Wait, what? She thinks
you come from.
right, I'm gonna call now. I'm gonna call her right now. Let's get into it. Jay, you feeling ready? I'm feeling ready. She hates you. All right. Well, we'll hang out. If it's a hit piece, bro, I'm just gonna be out of here. I want to switch it up a little bit though. Why are you talking to a feminist Destiny orbit? I talked to her before, man. I mean, I know she's friends with Destiny, but it is what it is. Pick up, man. What the hell? Masad honeypot, don't fall for it. It's okay. It's okay. It's good to get out of the echo chamber. Yeah, no, it's good to talk to people from different sides. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna get in there and go, you need some
Yo, stop it.
I was saying, ironically, that's what I would do. Why are you watching these old hit piece videos instead of talking to me? All right, what were you saying?
Okay. Are you nuked on Twitch?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna drop Twitch. All right. Bye, Twitch. Make sure you guys go over to YouTube.
Wait, so Twitch just saw me do the slap choke thing?
No, of course not.
Okay,
Pull up your camera immediately.
All right, nice,
I'm not a freak.
Nice, yeah.
Why are you shielding your eyes?
Because you're on Twitch. I don't want to get you banned. I care about your streaming career.
Oh no, I didn't pull up your camera until your camera's pulled up now officially.
Okay. Well, how does everything look? It looks good for your stream. I see you're vertical and horizontal right now.
Yeah, I know. So fancy. Have you done that yet?
I haven't talked to you in a long. I haven't done that yet. I haven't talked to you in a long time. I had you blocked on X. I don't remember why. Well, I unblocked you.
I think I beefed or troll. I think I disagreed with you directly about something you said, probably about women. I feel like it was during the Tate stuff.
No, I think it was after that. But I can't remember what it was for. But anyway, I met you before in Miami, and before that, we did a good stream 3 years ago, right before I got banned on YouTube. And now that I'm unbanned, I feel like it's fitting to talk to you again. I think we had a good interview. You know, we have different perspectives.
Actually, my interview makes it into all your hit pieces as like the lore background, almost always.
I think we can move on from the hit pieces though, right? It's like, you know, this kind of. I think we can move on from those. It's like people still care.
Yeah, I think people do because from most people's perspective, they haven't seen you for 3 years. They don't know who you are, and back then, it seemed like you shifted so much. You were probably trying to find what you believed, I suspect, in the best faith interpretation, and people don't know who you are. They have no idea.
Right, but I think that's part of the problem is people going from
old hit pieces.
Yeah, I know, but that's not the best they have. It's actually listening to what I say. I think the problem is people listening to third parties and people who are incentivized and monetized to disagree with me and shit on me and slander me rather than listen to me myself. Right? There's this phenomenon. People always come up to you. It's like, oh, I used to watch you then, but what happened? I'm like, do you even know what I talk about? Do you know what I stand for? Do you know what I'm about? And they don't. And that's because they only watch clips from people and videos from people that are incentivized to try to ruin my name.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I think it would fix if people were to look into what I'd like to be like, oh, you spread as hate speech. I'm like, well, my community's been called love speech for 3 years. They say, oh, you were a conspiracy theorist. It's like, well, I was right about the vaccine. YouTube apologized to me. I was right about Israel. We could see what happened there. And I was right about Chris Tyson when everybody said I was transphobic. These are 3 things that people call me crazy for that I ended up being right about. And nobody who slanders me apologizes. They just continue to profit off of these hippies videos.
Let's get into a lot of that stuff.
We're going to get into all that stuff.
I don't know.
I'm going to end Kick right now. Kick, come on over to the party thing. I'm just going to end this, but it's going to be I'm sure it's going to be a good conversation. I don't know how much time you had to prepare, but I'm excited.
None. I wasn't expecting it until at least Tuesday, so I was going to prep on Tuesday. So I guess why do you want to redo this interview with me specifically?
Because I think it was a good conversation.
How much time you had to prepare,
but I'm excited. Seems like we disagree. Sometimes I was watching your stream and you said you were a Christian, but you talk about how some people are calling you a destiny orbiter, which I don't know if that's fair, but I see you're on the debate stage with him.
So fair-ish. Like we've cleaved to fair. Like we don't have a business together anymore, but like I'm still like friends with Steven. So
yeah, that guy's on a.
he's on a warpath. Well,
yeah, I don't know. I think he's just. It's tough to see, but it seems like we're on different sides of the internet, so it's good. I mean, it's good to have challenging conversations like that. And even though we seem to disagree, I think you conducted a good interview last time, and it seems like it's kind of full circle now that I'm unbanned and back on YouTube.
What do you want to do now that you're unbanned?
Continue what I was doing before, see truth through funny, put out the best videos I possibly can. I have a lot to prove. Maybe that's egotistical to say, but I have a narrative to change. I've been vindicated about so many of these issues. Just want to put out the best content I possibly can, change the game even more.
So you feel like you've been right. Do you feel like, what are the lessons of the last 3 years for you?
The lessons, I think the most important lesson is not to, when you catch a wave or when you start getting momentum, don't burn it out too quick, because it's better to plan for the long term rather than short term, because I had to fight an uphill battle, and I still am. Still banned on Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, but being unbanned on YouTube is good. I had to fight an uphill battle being banned everywhere and being a content creator with no platform. So, and that was because I think I would have been able to avoid it if I had paced myself a little bit more, if I turned it into a marathon rather than a sprint.
So what does not burning it out mean? Like, would you change the content that you made? Would you make less content? Like, what does that mean practically? I
had a really good conversation on the 1 Minute podcast. I'm going to drop that soon, with a woman who reminded me of you. Her name was Amanda, and she sat down and she said, she seemed like a liberal, and she was saying that you should go back to your old type of content. You know, the red pill stuff, the manosphere stuff, she thinks is garbage, and she thinks it's when you have she said word for word, like your tone of voice, when it's too aggressive, when it's too provocative, when it's like too rage-inducing, many people are not going to listen, and that I should come more to the center so that gays, liberal, and women will be more inclined to listen to you. And there's a couple takeaways from that. It's funny because like she'll say like, oh, manosphere's a grift, and then she'll say grift more to the center so you get the gays, liberals, and women back. But also the important takeaway from that was the tone. The tone I had back then, I would have been able to avoid a lot of the cancellation if I wasn't so provocative. Like even that clip you were showing, that was a joke when I'm like talking about like, oh, she like, was that like a little bit offensive or stuff like that? But yeah, that's if I had toned down those jokes and made it a little more palatable. If I explained this in a way where women who dye their hair blue and adopt feminist politics usually do so, or maybe they don't know that what they're lacking is a relationship with a strong man that they could look up to. If I say that in a palatable way, people are going to listen. But if I say it like, grab the camera doing all this, people are like, ah, and they freak out. That's what I learned, is that there's ways to explain yourself in a way that more people will listen and it make it harder to cancel you.
So you want to be cancel proof, and like part of how you want to maintain being cancel proof is essentially, like, it sounds like what you're describing is essentially like the style of performance. Like what you've learned here is how to stylize your performance to proof yourself against platforms wanting to nuke you. Does that sound right?
Sure. I don't like your word choices.
You can disagree with me.
No, it's good. It's just you calling it a performance makes it sound disingenuous. But I mean, it is a show.
I don't mean it disingenuously.
No, I see what you're saying.
Just to be clear.
It is a show, but yeah, for sure.
Right, like, and just to be clear, as a conversion, right, one of the pieces of feedback I get all the time from people is to be less condescending, except when I debate people and I get really aggressive. That's when I get it the most often. People say, stop being condescending. And it's usually on debates where I'm the most mean and the most aggressive. Like I'm calling people retards versus like being smug. And so I've learned actually that when people say stop being condescending, it's a tone performance. They actually literally want me to condescend more than they want me to just be mean and direct, because people seem to be more cool with women being condescending than being aggressive, right? So it's a performance swap that I have to do, even though the feelings that I have towards the person kind of maintain the same.
Right. But it's all, you got to read the room. You got to understand the audience. Everybody, sometimes I see right-wing politicians or that sphere, they always get upset when they see code switchers, right? Good example is Mamdani. When he went to Uganda, he's speaking in a Ugandan accent, right? And then when he speaks to different ethnic groups, everybody code switches. You know, I make fun of it all the time too, because some people do it worse than others, like Hillary Clinton. It's like, I got my hot sauce in my purse. It's like, this is the most cringe code switching ever. But code switching effectively is actually polite. It shows that you're trying to relate to the audience. You understand who you're speaking to, and you want to make the message palatable to them. And that goes the same for what you're saying here. Like when you know that people would prefer you be condescending rather than mean and aggressive, it means you understand the room. And ultimately, you're doing so because you believe in your message and you want it to be heard. It's more important than whatever feelings you might have about the tone.
The performance, yeah. So, but you don't like the framing of performance. I want to interrogate that a little bit more.
No, I don't have a problem with it, but I'm just wondering, I'm like, is she going to call me a grifter? That was the apprehension.
I don't know. I don't know yet. I'll have to talk to you to decide.
I guess we'll find out. I'm looking forward to it.
It's the trial. So 3 years you've learned essentially to be more mindful of the performance, like to code switch essentially, depending on like what you're talking about. Is there anything else that you've learned?
In 3 years, I learned how to deal with frustration, bitterness, and anger better than I have before. 3 years of being shut out for things I ended up being right about, that'll make you angry. It feels like being falsely imprisoned for, being accused of murder, and then you didn't do it, and then being released after 3 years. That's what it's equivalent to. So I learned how to deal with that internally, and how to accept it. And I think that finally accepting that and getting rid of that was the reason I got unbanned in a spiritual way, which maybe that's a different conversation. But being able to let go, like people say that the universe will run away from what you're chasing so much. If you're, it's like a woman, if you're really needy and all this stuff, she's going to be repulsed. But as soon as you pull back, that's when the attraction works. Like there's opposite ends of a magnet. Yeah. So just learning how to deal with it, because seeing people adopt the talking points that I was saying when I got banned, seeing them then adopt it, that's like, man, I was saying that you called me crazy. I think the perfect example of the bitterness came from, the best real example was in 2023. I'm at the UFC fight with Aiden Ross and Gideon. And that's the night I met Donald Trump. It was a big fight. Adesanya fought Pereira. You might not know who that is. But at the time, I was speaking a lot about Chris Tyson. Chris Tyson was the friend of Mr. Beast, the big collaborator. He's transgender, right? Mm-hmm. He was taking HRT and he was being promoted all these videos. And very frequently, all the time, I was saying, this should not be promoted to children. And I remember asking like a lot of people at the event, I'm like, what do you think about Chris Tyson? And then Aiden's a good friend of mine. Gideon, less talkative now, but they were making fun of me for saying, oh, you're so obsessed with this. You're so obsessed with this. You're transphobic. A lot of people came around. A lot of people admitted it. Aiden ended up admitting that I was right about that. But all these other people were calling me crazy, saying, oh, look, well, why are you so obsessed with Chris Tyson? You're transphobic. You're transphobic. Then he ends up being outed for being a pedophile, for doing innocuous things in Discord servers, and everyone's like, okay, now that we all agree he's a pervert. And I was the only one speaking up about it. I mean, I ended up being right. This guy should not be in front of children. But nobody turns around and says, oh, look, sorry, we were wrong. Nobody does that. YouTube did. YouTube said, sorry, we were wrong about COVID. But all those other people that wrote me off and said that I was obsessed, that they didn't say anything. And then I look, I'm like, this is why people don't tell the truth, because they don't want to be pushed to the side as crazy. It's not that I was wrong. It's just that I was right too early. And so that's where I'm like, that's part of the thing where I get too bitter, and then, but I've learned how to fix that. Yeah,
I think there's this very interesting thing that we're touching on with this like performance piece that I think is very important. I noticed, obviously, you didn't like that I was watching the hit piece of you. And it seems as though, you've got this question in your mind, which is, do I think you're a grifter? And what do people think of you? And how do you reset the narrative about you, right? Like, I think that seems like a central thing of what's already emerged in this conversation so far. And what's interesting is that it poses the question to me immediately of, what does honest mean? What does an honest version of you mean? What does it mean to be authentic, right? Because there are, for example, times where I can say it's maybe more honest to give authentic representation of me that maybe gives people an inaccurate representation of me in their mind, right? I might act some way, aggressive, and it leads to people concluding that I'm condescending. Mm-hmm. Or is it more honest to say what I don't feel if it will give people an accurate perception of me? So instead, I switch to being actually condescending, and then people don't think I'm condescending anymore, because I broadly don't try to be a condescending person. Which of these things is more honest? Does that make sense?
The more honest version, I've tried this before. I think it's another lesson I learned in the past 3 years, is not trying to do any dark triad, 48 laws of power manipulation tactics. I try to do that as much as I can. I realize it's not really, it's not reasonable to do that completely, especially at a certain level of fame or influence. It's not possible. I think the perfect example was the cuck story that, you know, that people always make fun of. And it is funny. I remember that being an example of something like, okay, this is really embarrassing. I hated this. I'm going to joke about it on a podcast. And then it ended up being the biggest bullet people use to destroy my reputation. That's a perfect example of being vulnerable, being completely honest, not thinking about, you know, steps or how to communicate or strategy, just being like, this is fucking me, this is funny, and of how or why people aren't vulnerable, why people aren't truthful. But I want to get to that point. I want to get to that point where I don't have to play any of those games and because those are all mental traps. This is all forms of mental slavery where you're bound by society's perception of you. I think the best person to let go of that and who showed us that it's possible is Ye. And that's why we get along, and why, you know, again, why I respect him so much. There's not been any celebrity, or I don't know if any human, who's been as honest about his life. Like, what about that song Cousins? I gave my cousin head. He made a whole song about giving his cousin head. What are the rappers doing that? This is he's from an era where 50 Cent with the big T-shirts and the Thug Row G-Unit, where that was the whole image of a rapper. And now in 2025, he's saying, I gave my cousin head. I gave my cousin head. Who else is going to be willing to do that? And he thought about it because some people were telling him that if you say this, or you can't ever say this, you have to take this to your grave. You have to take this to the grave. Break down why. Why do you need to take that information to the grave? Because you're afraid of society's judgment. You're afraid of people's perception of you. He's like, well, I'm not going to let that hold me. I'm not going to let that prison hold me. But I'm going to say it. Now what? He said it. People heard it. And now we move on.
Interesting. And so I guess one thing that's interesting to me about Ye is there is honesty insofar as like wearing on your cuff to some degree, like the hardships, the realities of what you've gone through, as you're describing, like the cuck story, which pilloried you over. I remember when that all happened. I remember being kind of really bothered because I was like, wait, according to like the left, this should be a good thing. He's doing something sexually kind of out of the norm for him because his partner wanted it, right? Like that's a good thing, and yet we're pillaring him because
it was because I felt ashamed. Like I was at the time. I mean, I'm still talking about this, but I was doing all these threesomes, and it made my girlfriend jealous, and it was like I was trying to work on this jealousy thing and see if like this was possible. So had the idea like, all right, let's do a couple swap, you know. And obviously it was fucking horrible. I didn't like it at all, and so it was just and again, like most of the criticism comes from the left about that, and this is from the same people who say, oh, we're sex positive, you know, we're accepting, share your kink and all this stuff. And then as soon as they see a guy be like, yo, this is fucking embarrassing, like haha F word, haha, they use the same insults that they claim you shouldn't be ashamed about, right? The first thing that a leftist will call you when they need to shame somebody on the right is they'll call you gay. And it's like, if you're using this as an insult, what do you really believe about gay people?
Well, the response would be, well, I don't care, but you certainly do. And I'm going to weaponize the things that you hate, right? So I guess, and you can respond to that before I go into my question, but I want to
I think that's a half truth, but I also do think the fact that they immediately revert to that is because they know it's something, I think deep down it reveals that they think it's something shameful. They think it's something that you should hold guilt over.
I don't know, but I'm curious. I want to tie into this because you talked about Ye, right? And we're talking about honesty, right? Because, you know, opening up about his childhood. I don't know if it was sexual abuse specifically. I don't know the dynamics between him and his cousin, or if it was just like childhood sexual exploration, right? But he's being a bare all about this. But there's also a type of honesty that would look like, for example, like accountability, right? Does Ye have any insight yet into like why he has limited access to his children and why like his wife is uncomfortable with that? Like, is there any self-honesty in his role within that thing falling apart? Because when we think about honesty, it's not just about wearing on your sleeve like what you've done and what's happened to you. It's also wearing on your sleeve what's your responsibility and what's not your responsibility. Maybe you disagree.
I see what you're saying, and that's because in the short term it can be problematic and things for your family, but ultimately, to answer your previous question, the ideal or the place that we're trying to get to with art, with communication, is the most honest society possible, right? Where it's not about how it makes people feel immediately. It's about your intentions, right? It shouldn't be words. You shouldn't be canceled over words, over saying a slur. It should be, do you have ill intent with them? Are you trying to harm society, or are you trying to improve it? And I think a lot of people aren't able to dissect that. And when we get to that point, we have improved as a whole.
Gotcha. So maximum transparency.
Exactly.
You think that like that's
complete
kind of
authenticity?
a step forward.
Yeah, complete authenticity. And that's the goal of every artist. That's what art is all about, is telling the truth. Is I think whenever a painter looks at the canvas, the first brushstroke should be the most honest one. Ernest Hemingway said, if you don't know what to write the truest sense you know. If you're ever stuck, if you ever writer's block, just write the truest sense you know. That's why I've always followed that motto when I'm writing a video, because like what's gonna show up on the page is something that you haven't revealed before, something like an idea that you haven't been able to communicate. You might as well communicate it through a piece of art if you can't communicate it through conversation if people don't understand it in real life.
What's your goal in correcting the narrative on you?
My goal is to make it easier for other people to tell the truth when it's the most dangerous, when you could lose everything for it. That it's happened to me. I lost everything. When I last talked to you, I told you how important my YouTube channel was to me. I lost my life's work. I've been doing this since I was 13 years old on my main channel, and they took it all away. And they ended up saying, we're sorry, thank you for your patience. So that's like, it's literally like false imprisonment and then being released from jail. And when people say like you did this for clout or for money, if I did it for clout and money, then I wouldn't have said things that got me so censored and got me scrutinized and all this. That's a ridiculous accusation. And so I want to make it immediately. I think the first goal is to make it so other people see, and have less. When someone else takes the road less traveled, it's less scary. Like when your sibling goes into the attic, you could follow up too, right? I went down this road, and now other people can have the courage, hopefully, to tell the truth. Like next pandemic, they could be like, actually, I don't think that I need to take the vaccine. I'm a healthy person, and I'm not risking people's lives, and it doesn't make me an evil person because I don't want to put this into my body. Hopefully I've made that, I've made that more possible for people in the future.
How do you know that when you think about the road being less traveled by, how do you know that the road is less traveled because it's hard, but it's worth traveling, or if it's less traveled because it's foolish and people have learned already not to go down that pathway?
Well, it's not foolish because it's wrong. It's foolish because you're going to face scrutiny. It's foolish because it's financially foolish. And I think that that's not a roadblock worth listening to. If it's foolish financially, it's like, okay, that's very, that's a very immediate thing to get blocked by. You should only not travel the road if it's like, it should be right and wrong, what's truthful and what's false.
Well, is what's truthful, what's right? Like, where are you tying these things? Because when I'm thinking about the road less traveled by, sometimes it's less traveled because it's not explored yet, or people are afraid of it. But sometimes it's less traveled because we as a society have looked at this thing. Cannibalism, okay? Everyone can agree that's not a road that needs to be traveled by. There's not a lot of people doing cannibalism. It's probably not a worthwhile thing to do, right? And it's an extreme example, but how do you as an individual, especially because you seem to care about kind of being avant-garde, pushing on the edges of what people don't want to talk about, how do you then as that individual look at the lanes and go, what's actually true, like correct, versus what's just not traveled by, but maybe there's a reason for it? Does that kind of make sense?
You just have to yeah, I mean cannibalism, that is an extreme comparison. But I understand what you're saying. Like, how do you know?
Just to drive the point, yeah.
Yeah, how do you understand if that's the right road just because it's less traveled? Yeah, that's not the full measurement, right? But I do want to. That's a byproduct of it. Like I knew then, like I knew with full certainty, like okay, Chris Tyson shouldn't be in front of children. Like this is a no-brainer. He's taking HRT. Mr. Beast has some of the biggest influence in the world to children. Why is a guy being able to leave his family and get cheered on because he's now, a single guy dressed up and taking hormone? Like this is not something that kids should see. Like logically, that's just wrong, right?
Why?
Because kids shouldn't take hormone therapy. Because it messes up with your DNA, because it messes up them mentally, because it's proven to alter your state of puberty.
Well, there's lots of things that kids take that can be like, right? Like kids take hormone therapy for other things than just being trans. Like, are you opposed to medical intervention on children?
No, I'm opposed to it for the wrong. Like, if they're doing it because they're encouraged, because like, oh, look how happy Chris Tyson is. I'm like, well, I know this guy. This guy's a pervert, and he's doing this as a performance, and he's trying to gain acceptance. He's not in it for the correct medical reasons. He's in it for validation and for weird perverted reasons. Possibly.
It's also possible somebody can be a pervert and also be trans, and those two things are separate, right?
Sure.
Just like somebody could be a pervert and a man, or a pervert and a woman, or a pervert and a liberal, or a pervert and a Republican.
Sure.
As the Epstein files, I'm sure, will show.
That's also true. That's a good point.
Okay. So
also, your dog just went by, and I'm like laughing because I'm like, is she going to shock it back into the frame? I don't know how liberal you are. I don't know if you're going to keep... You might. Please don't.
Maybe. No, I don't have a shock collar on her.
Okay, good.
She's a free dog. She's a free doggo. So I remember back when we talked, one of the things that stuck to me, and it's something that I've actually told people a lot when they've like talked about you, when they've talked about your like grift to live streaming, which I think is like, maybe you have grifted. I don't know yet. Changing mediums of art is a crazy thing to call a grift though. And they'd be like, well, he just switched to live streaming. And I'm like, well, I know exactly why, because I remember we were walking into Fresh and Fit when I asked you this question, because I remember saying to you, which I think a lot of people said, I loved your art. You're like one of the most talented artists on YouTube. I still think that. And you said, I remember I made, what was it? What is a woman, or how to talk to women? How to talk to women is the name of the video? How to view women. Yes, that's one of my favorite videos still of yours.
Thanks.
And you were like, I spent months on it. I think like at least 3 months.
It was 30 days.
Filming.
It was 30 days total.
Yeah. Filming, recording, like working super hard on this product. It gets out and it does well. It did well as a video. I don't think it broke 1 million, or did it break 1 million?
It has now that I'm on.
It was in the high. Okay. It was definitely in the high, I think 700s when I had seen it, right? But then Hassan watched it on stream. He said nothing. He picked his teeth. He called you a misogynist. And then he re-uploaded it, and his re-upload reaction got more views out the gate than your video that took 30 days. And I went, of course, it makes total sense that you become a streamer. It's just so much more lucrative. But now you want to go back to making art.
I'm doing both, and I have done both for the past 3 years. See, people don't seem to know that I've posted countless videos on X. I think that's one of the major reasons I got unbanned. People saw how good my Project X series was, and that I still got it. But yeah, that's like, seeing that was, well, it's not because I saw it as more lucrative. I just saw his stream, and the guy's a fucking idiot. Like, not only is he a dog shocker, but he didn't even understand the nuance in the video. You did. The video takes the perspective of an incel who can't talk to women, and that's what the lens is. It's trying to analyze the gender problem from the perspective of a male incel, kind of like Taxi Driver or something like that. It's like I'm playing a character. And the fucking idiot didn't get it, and he just starts calling me a misogynist. I'm like, this just went over your head, and you got more views misrepresenting me than accurately looking at like a piece of art. This video's dope. It's better than anything you did. So I'm like, and I'm also listening to him like, you're boring. You're not funny. You're just picking your teeth, and you're shocking your dog. You suck. I can stream better than you. So I'm gonna do this too. I'm gonna do this too. And then I started doing it, and I still was making videos along with streaming, but obviously my focus was separated.
Gotcha. So I guess if you're going to go back to making content on YouTube, and you said, well, I'm going to be mindful about the performance that I do, does that mean that you're being less authentic then, I guess, for you as an artist? If you gave me the Ernest Hemingway thing, it feels like it flies in the face of the performance piece. Because as a debater, code switching is just a normal, but I don't view myself as an artist, like at all. Does that feel more inauthentic to you? Because I know art is...
No, it's the same idea. So that's why I don't see it as inauthentic the way I explained it earlier. Like when I talk about the feminist problem and them having a lack of a strong masculine role in their life, right? There's different ways to approach that subject. You could do the, or you could just explain it in a way that people will listen to. So it's not inauthentic. It's just different messaging.
Okay, gotcha. But the message is the core thing that you don't want to change.
There's nothing to change. Like that's what people always say. Like, are you gonna apologize or this? Like what? And they don't know what to say. Like, the number one thing that people adopted. Like I remember they were calling me a Nazi and an anti-Semite so long for saying that AIPAC needs to get out of American politics, and now everyone's saying it. Like all these liberals are saying free Palestine. I'm like, that's what saying free Palestine is equivalent to saying we need to get AIPAC registered as a foreign agent. That's the same thing. They say it like free Palestine. They say it like Hakuna Matata. It's like this slogan they like I love making this joke. It's like they think that it's releasing a lobster in a rom-com. Free Palestine, be free. It's like, from who? It's okay, who's the one doing it? It's Israel. How does Israel exist? Oh, they depend upon America. They're a parasite on our country. They get all their money. They get all their money from us. They use our media, our government. They have AIPAC not registered as a foreign agent. They have all these politicians going there and putting the flag next to them. Without America, they cease to exist. So I'm just explaining what they're saying as a slogan. And now they don't call me an anti-Semite. Now they don't call me a Nazi. Sometimes they do. It doesn't hit the same way as it once did. And that's what's important.
Do you still wonder about the Holocaust? Because I remember that was a really big sticking point for a lot of people.
It's just not that important. It just happened like almost 100 years ago. It's like, this is not an important... Let's talk about... I think that they use that right now to shut people up and say like, oh, you're a Holocaust denier, you're a Holocaust revisionist. It's like, let me talk about what's going on right now. We just had 2 years of a genocide after October 7th. Let's talk about right now.
Sure, but I do think that like history matters, right? Like we have to talk about it because we have to talk about the Holocaust and pogroms to understand like the creation of all sorts of things. Like the reality is like you have to understand you, I have to understand the things that you've been through, the events and experiences that have shaped you, right? Fundamentally. So these things do matter.
Okay.
Obviously we can infinitely go back in history, but I'm sure you would agree, like, these things do matter. And this is kind of the question that people have for you, is like, if you're saying everything's the same, nothing's changed, I guess that raises flags for me, because I don't think you're too smart to be stagnant, and I don't think you're stagnant. And if you're not stagnant, then you're changing. And so the question is, what's changing?
Well, are you asking about the Holocaust? I was never a Holocaust denier. I don't know if you're trying.
Not about the Holocaust, more about you broadly. I'm trying to understand what's different. What's different about SNEAKO 3 years later? What's different? What's the same?
What's different?
And you're saying the performance is different.
Well, I'm older. I mean, it's cool to look back at my YouTube channel, because I pretty much, like, I was left when I was in my early 20s. Like, right after I turned 24, I got banned. So I would say 23. And then for all my mid-20s, I was banned, and now I'm pushing 30, and I'm back. So it's like a different era of my life. So it's just, I'm older, and I have more. There was a lot that I went through the past 3 years. You know, there was the fighting Strickland, working with Ye in Spain, doing this IRL streaming run. All this was, you know, I went through so much, and I have so many stories to tell. So it's just, you know, I'm a vet now. You know, before, when I first got banned.
Tell me about that.
About what?
That's what I want to understand. Well, if you're saying I've gone through so much, I've seen so many things, right? I've experienced many things, and then my question goes, and what did you learn? Like, what's different now? Because you've definitely experienced more from 3 years ago, SNEAKO. And so I'm sure things have changed, and I'm trying to figure out what are those things.
The major thing was finding God. I think that was the major one. Was now I know the truth. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I know where we go when we die, hopefully, and I know what our function is on this earth. And before then, I was still, I wasn't completely certain. I'd always been interested in finding God, reading the Malcolm X autobiography when I was very young. But now I fully believe in it, and I have that. I have that faith that I didn't have before. That's the biggest change.
How does that? That's pretty I feel like faith is groundbreaking. How does that change you? How does that change how you view everything?
It gets rid of a lot of the mental health problems that people talk about. When they talk about having anxiety and stuff, it's like, okay, well, you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, and you don't have your head screwed on properly. Maybe you're not praying. Maybe your diet's off. Maybe you're putting garbage. Maybe you're listening to too much music, or you're being dragged to so many places instead of following the straight path. You know, it's groundbreaking, because now I know what the straight path is. And when anything goes wrong, it's because I deterred from it.
So how do you, because I'm obviously Christian and not Muslim, so what does your faith look like as far as like steering and guiding you? Like, how do you know which is the right? We talked about the pathways. I imagine part of what helps you determine the pathways that you're picking is your faith, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I see Christianity and Islam are very similar. Yeah, it's almost the same. We believe in pretty much the same things. The major difference, I think, it depends on what branch of Christianity you are, but we both believe Jesus is the Messiah. We believe in God. We believe in heaven and hell. We believe, you know, in doing the right things, and all this. And a lot of the stories and a lot of the history is very similar too. So I don't see it as very different.
I think we also fundamentally like very different religions as well. We're very similar, and we're also very different, which is why we're separate, right? But I'm trying to understand.
There's not that many differences, to be honest. What's a major one?
There's a fair bit.
Like what?
We don't recognize Muhammad whatsoever at all. We don't recognize him as a prophet. We don't acknowledge him as a wise speaker. In fact, we reject all of his teachings. That's like a pretty crux difference.
I don't know if you could say you reject all of his teaching. A lot of what he said and a lot of the hadith is stuff that Christians do follow, but just not from his words.
And we also think Jesus Christ is God, which is pretty fundamental too.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. But you do believe he's the Messiah, and we do also believe he's a prophet. So
Yeah, but we think he's like God, right? So like when you guys are like, well, he's a prophet, it's like for us that would be like denying God, which we don't need to get into theology. I'm not trying to convince you to be a Christian or anything. I'm just saying like,
but aside, similar, yeah, you're right. You're right in saying that. But aside from that,
I'm trying to understand
the morals and teachings and what you get out of it are very similar. That's my point.
So, yeah, and I'm trying to understand. So when it comes to you, how do you use your faith to make a decision about like what's the right way forward?
I mean, it's all outlined. Just you try to do the right thing more than the wrong thing. That's all we can do.
Yeah, but like when the hadith are being written, like most of them, social media didn't exist, so it can't tell you directly like should I make a video on X or Y, or should I cover a topic in this way or that way? So how do you use it to kind of inform your actions?
Man, I probably don't like directly source it when I'm making videos the way like, are doing homework, but when your intentions become more clear and you have a better idea of morality, it's easier to create. And so you could probably use that as a guide, spiritually.
Okay. That's fair. Maybe we interface with our faith differently. Obviously, this is why I'm trying to understand. Because like for me, it would be like all like prayer and stuff. So I'm just trying to like understand what. So your faith is a major shifter for you. Mm-hmm. How has that changed your like day-to-day life? You obviously pray.
This is the whole question. Yeah, I pray. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's like 5 times is I gotta get better upon that. During Ramadan, it's easier to do it 5 times a day. Right now. I'm trying to get to that point. I got to be better every day.
Okay. What else?
Man, it's knowing, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. Like every time, if I go out to a party now, I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't be here. I think beforehand, I wouldn't have the same sort of guilt upon it. Or, say I'm listening to, demonic music. I'm like, all right, you shouldn't be doing this. Beforehand, I'm like, this is, and I wouldn't know why it's bad, but there was some innate feeling that knew it was bad.
By demonic, do you mean like secular music or just like
literal demonic music,
music?
like music where they're worshiping the devil and using demonic imagery all over it? I'd be like, back then I'd be like, okay, this is making me feel bad spiritually and I don't know why. Now I know why.
Gotcha. Okay. So demonic music, parties, any other ways that it's like shifted?
Even like casual relationships, things like that. Beforehand, I thought that was maybe leaned more with like the red pill idea, like Myron believes in getting 50 bodies before you get married, stuff like that. I wouldn't see that as something bad, and now I'm like, okay, well, this is a waste of time. This is you're sharing your energy with too many people, and it's just not. There's no purpose. Like now, the function of a relationship is to serve God better, is to get married, to have kids. The function of it's not hedonistic. It's for family. It's for life.
Gotcha. So when we had last talked, you had been increasingly kind of separating from your family, like your mom and your dad and your sister. Have you guys kind of reconnected? Are you in touch with your family?
Yeah, I'm everything's good with my family now, happily.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, everything's good.
What did that look like?
What rekindling? Fixing it? No,
when we talked 3 years ago,
just more attention. Really upsetting to you. More attention. I was so focused on work that I was like, I wasn't in the right headspace, and so now it's more of a family man, dividing more attention and knowing like, okay, when to clock in on work and when to talk to the fam.
Gotcha. What's dragging this interview? I can tell that it's dragging. What do you think it is?
Nothing's dragging. It's just that I'm very careful not to get clipped. Like I want to make sure I answer everything the right way.
Gotcha. Okay, so because I'm noticing like a slowing or a hesitancy that wasn't there when we first started talking, but it's definitely, I'm noticing it now. Do you think me asking about you changing is specifically the part because it feels like as soon as I started asking you about changing, that's where like some slowing happened. Is there concerns there?
No, I'm just being, you're asking me questions that I have a lot earlier in the interview. I was more certain about everything. I haven't thought about this as much as I've thought about the other issues. Like the culture war, political purpose, like all that stuff. That one I think about literally all day, every day. You asking how I've changed, that's causing more reflection. I got to think back like to our first interview where I was it's like a teleporter. Like now being unbanned, it really is like seeing everything from like, that was a certain era of my life. I was in my early 20s and now I'm in my late 20s. It was a different time. So it's like imagine like bailing your friend out of jail. Not bailing, just, that Juice King Demon home. He's finally home and he's seeing everybody. And then you run into people, you see the old neighborhood, things are kind of different. That's what it feels like being back in this space.
What do you think about like forgiveness? Because I feel like as you come back into the space, there's a lot of people that probably have asked you whether you are apologetic, but I'm sure there's also a lot of people that burned you. That you're going to be interfacing with, especially now that you're back on YouTube, right?
Right.
How do you conceptualize that? Like, how do you get back into the social space? How are you thinking about it coming in new? Because yes, you've been making content for the last 3 years, but like you said, you're also kind of like popping out fresh again. now that you're back on YouTube and the Google alphabet will allow you to be seen?
Yeah, that's a good question. This happened really recently. Abba and Preach posted a video saying we were wrong about SNEAKO. And this is after years of attacks of like million views, boom, boom, SNEAKO's a Nazi, SNEAKO's a pedo, SNEAKO's a cuck, SNEAKO's a grifter, like boom, every fucking month. And now I'm back, they're like, oh, we were wrong. Well, what about all that? And it's hopefully, you got to analyze that and be like, hope it's genuine, but obviously you can't be too trusting. And then there's other, relationships at play, like beefs with friends and all this stuff. But that's a good example. It's like, all right, do I look at this and be like, well, thank you, and come and hug them? Or do I, I think the better way to look at it is forgive, but don't forget. Don't forget. I'm not going to forget how any of the people treated me when I was banned, and now that I'm back. And I mean, hopefully, maybe it's coincidental. They saw the debate. I saw you reacted to it too, where I was talking about America not being a Christian country. So, I mean, hopefully they have the best intentions, but it's hard to be fully trusting, and we'll see, man. We have time will tell.
Do you think that that's something that's changed? Understandably changed, but do you think that that's something that's changed? Is you kind of being more cautious about people?
Absolutely. I think I was way too trusting of too many people. I've been burned so many times. I've been snaked so many times over these past 3 years. It's made me, pretty standoffish with a lot of people. My chat sometimes they say like, oh, El ego, because like people are like jumping up and down for pictures, and I'm like, kind of like passive sometimes, because I've seen people jump up and down for that picture and post it online and say, this guy's fucking weird, I'm like, but not even that, like people close to me, just all this snaking and all this betrayal and all this, people trying to put dirt and, like threaten to release information, all this stuff, that makes you pretty jaded. And I've been too trusting for early in my career, for sure.
So how do you go about deciding who to trust now? Or do you trust anyone?
I guess you can't fully trust anybody, but it's a process. And I think I was too revealing with information too quickly. Especially with creators. Creators are like the least trustworthy people in the fucking world, because they hold on to information like elephants, and they know that they could use it as a clickbait title. You tell something to a creator and they're downloading possible YouTube titles. I think them especially, I'm gonna look over both shoulders at forever now.
Okay, so fellow creators, because there's kind of a necessary monetization of relationship.
Yeah, there's an incentive, and also there's so much jealousy involved. Like you talk to one of them, and if they have less clout, less followers, so many people that I was really like open and friendly with, like they're looking at you like I'm better than you. Like why does he have more? I'm better than you. And then you could see that manifest through their content. The other day, I took a meeting 2 days ago. I'm walking into the building. It's in Soho. I buzz up the elevator. When I hear someone say, SNEAKO, I turn around, and it's the Zionist guy who has told people to stay away from me, has slandered my name, someone I knew personally, and snaked me completely. Someone who paid me $5,000, Erudite, for this podcast. It was actually around the same time. We do the same thing. He said, let me do 5K. I want to do a conversation like this. I think you referenced it. Got the 5K.
Is it, sorry, he paid you to come on his podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it was really friendly, all this stuff.
Are you going to say his name?
Nope.
Because everyone's going to be able to piece it together. Okay.
No.
Yeah, you don't want to summon him?
No. It's just, there's no point. And then I saw this dude after, like, he told some of my friends not to talk to me anymore, slandering online, calling me all these names. And I'm buzzing the elevator. I hear SNEAKO, and he waves like a friend. And I'm like, this fucking guy. And it's just, this is the nature of because there's a lot to take from me. It is what it is. There's always, people are incentivized to take.
That must be, it's interesting. I feel like one of the things I noticed about you when we talked 3 years ago is that you're probably not going to like this word, and I mean this in the best way possible. Okay, I mean this in the white girl way, which is always like a compliment. Okay, which is, I think you're a very sensitive person. And by sensitive, I mean you're very aware, you're paying attention to what other people say, but also the things that other people say about you impact you. Like you remember it, and it impacts you going forward. Whereas there's many other characters that I would say are very insensitive in this way. And it causes them to probably be insensitive towards others, but also what other people say. They just really don't care what other people say. And I think that's actually, I think it's a good thing. It just comes with a lot of cons, right? Just that you get impacted by what people say. But also a pro of you get impacted by what people say. Do you think that that's a fair assessment, or do you think?
Yeah, that's 100% true. It's because I care, man. I care. Yeah, I don't think that's People often tell me, a lot of manosphere people tell me like, "You got to stop this." I'm like, dude, I care. Like, that's not anything that's gonna change about me.
Why do you care? And what do you care about?
I care about the world. I care about people. I care about what's right, what's wrong, what's truthful.
When you say you care about people,
I care about. I want society to be better. I want people to be more honest. I want things to work out. I don't want people to keep. I don't want to see kids die. And I'm surprised that I get called sensitive for that. I just assume everybody's like that.
I think you are unique in some ways in the sensitivities, right? Like not wanting kids to die. I think we can all agree with that, right?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Well, most people are going to justify, right? Nobody's going to love kids dying, but they might say, well, the war has to happen. If we're talking about Israel again, I'm assuming we are.
Yeah.
So you'd agree that you're a sensitive person. How has that, do you think, impacted people snaking you in a way that it might not impact others or impacts you differently? It's
because when people snake me, it's because it's after I've shown them my true self and I've been vulnerable with them. And it's like, realize, oh, this guy was putting up he was fake the whole time. And the whole time I was being real, you were downloading. And there's somebody that, there was one fucking guy. I went to, I don't want to say the country because people are going to put it together, but I went to visit him and do content with him in a faraway place. It was like a long flight, right? Guy's broke. And completely, people didn't know who he was. He was canceled everywhere. And I'm like, man, I want to put this guy on again. Did content with him, plugged him with people, started to blow up again. Got on all these podcasts, got on all these shows. Even before I left that country, I gave him a bunch of money. I'm like, man, you're not making a lot. You've been banned everywhere. You're trying to sell this shit. It's like, take this. Like, I didn't even fucking say anything. A year goes by, falls off again. He starts like being bitter. Nobody likes him. It's like, this guy sucks. All right. And then he starts snaking me and then starts tweeting about me, talking shit. I never said a fucking word about him. I never said anything, never said anything negative. I put him on all these places, connected him, and like you're gonna turn on me. It's like, and that's the type of, I don't know if that's gonna affect people more than other people, but it's because maybe you say it's sensitive. It's because I've helped so many of these people, and I know that. There's some people that I've defended relentlessly. Some manosphere people that I've relentlessly went to war with online to defend people from slander, and then they turn on you, and you're like you. I think anybody would be affected by that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree that they would be affected. But it feels like you process with it deeply. I think it's fundamentally being an artist, right? I think you have to. I don't think you could be an artist if you didn't kind of express and experience and walk yourself through things that have happened to you. Mm-hmm. So when you think about all the people who have staked you and stuff, how do you think about things like loyalty? How do you conceptualize that?
I value it way more than I ever did before before I was banned. It's it's a trait and a quality in people that is super rare, especially in the content creator space, that, if you find that, you got to hold on to that because it's hard to find. So very, very appreciative of loyalty.
How do you tell? How do you tell when loyalty is happening?
It takes time. It takes, because especially with creators, I think that's the best example because I am one. If you see, I'll give you an example. So Ye recently, he texted me. I was in Spain in May, and he texted me a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, "Thanks for not leaking anything." Now it was October. A lot of times went by. And that's the same thing. He's like, he probably waited. A lot of people in that time leaked things, leaked footage, leaked albums, leaked music, information, went to TMZ, all this stuff. And at the same time, I had the opportunity to, and I could have, and I would have been incentivized and monetized to betray, and I didn't. So after a while, he's like, okay, you could have done that at a time. Most likely, you show more loyalty than others. It's a comparison thing. I texted him back. I'm like, it's crazy that you even have to thank me for doing what you're supposed to do. This is not even it's not even doing the bare minimum. It's just what I said I would do and what should be expected. But nowadays, that's so rare that you appreciate what used to be normal.
When should you stop being loyal to someone?
That's a good question. You should stop being loyal to someone. I think the first, if they show disloyalty, but there's a certain point where if your values don't align anymore, then I can understand why you would separate. For example, I had one of my closest friends from Miami is an Israeli Zionist. Hardcore Zionist, and we were good friends. And I looked past it, so I hang out with them. We would argue, we would debate, we would disagree, but I still liked the guy and he liked me. Eventually, he texted me, he said, man, it's just what you're saying is going against my people too much. I can't be friends with you. first I was kind of upset. And I'm like, man, I kind of understand why he says that. Like he thinks that I'm literally like hurting his existence. So I can get why he thinks that. And it's not even like he betrayed me or snaked or said anything. He's just like, I can't be friends with you. You know, I can't talk anymore. I'm like, okay, all right.
What was that like?
I just kind of shrugged. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, it was probably
No impact?
No,
Was your friend you respected?
Yeah, I still respect him. Sometimes we talk briefly now. He sent a whole essay explaining why he couldn't be friends anymore. He's like, you say this, you align with these people, and you're hurting my people, and you're hurting my nation. And I'm like, okay, man. But I didn't really get upset because I kind of respect him for outlining why. I also respect him for doing that instead of going online and saying all this shit. He just said, like, man, it was more like a personal thing. Like he thinks that if I benefit SNEAKO, then I'm also benefiting the enemy. And so I was like, okay, well, I respect his decision in that sense.
Gotcha. And so I guess the follow-up question to that is, how do you decide which criticisms are worth listening to? Like, how do you know when you're going wrong? How do you know when you're erring? How do you know when you're going right? Which criticisms should be listened to?
It's through self-reflection. You know, I get a lot of advice from a lot of people all the time, and it's always with time. You don't know really immediately. You need to sit with the ideas a little bit. And it's like people say you need to, before you make a major decision, jerk off. Like you can't be in a crazy emotional place to make a major decision or to think rationally. That's why I think you should always sit with something for a little bit and think of it from different perspectives.
I used to say, if you're going to get a tattoo, sit on it for a year and make sure you still want it after the year.
People usually don't want it anymore.
You know, every one of my tattoos I did.
You did?
Which almost shows maybe I should have just gone immediately, because I'm such a, like, this is the issue, right? Like when I think about the way that you should think, I think it's pronged on the type of person you are. I'm a very cautious person. I'm way more likely to say no and pull myself back than to like impulsively jump into things. And so when I'm trying to decide on the right action, part of what I try to do is understand, like, who am I? What are my predilections? And which are the unhealthy predilections that could be impacting? And what are the healthy predilections that could be impacting this decision? And like, how do I counterbalance my own personality for better health and for better balance? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense to you?
Can you keep explaining that idea? I kind of understand.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so like with the tattoo, right? When I look back, it's almost like it probably, because like I'm so cautious already, I understand that I might have something on my body for the rest of my life. I take a lot of gravity in that decision, and so I'm not going to get something frivolous and stupid. I'll never agree to it. It's never going to happen because it's so not my personality too. And so in some ways, like waiting an entire year to get a tattoo with my personality appeals to my personality, because I love waiting and, you know, holding off to really make sure that it's the right plan. But also that type of hesitancy has really impacted my content career, for example. There's a lot of waves of content that I think if I had just jumped right into and I'd ridden that wave, I'd probably be more popular, right? It doesn't help that I neglected my content for 2 years. But when I'm thinking about content creation, it really rewards impulsivity. And so in my personality, when I'm trying to decide like the next wave that's popping off, how much I want to like jump into it, my knee jerk now is to go, I'm not going to want to, so I should already assume that my knee jerk to not want to should be somewhat disregarded, and I should actually lean more into doing it unless I have really good reasons not to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's something to it. I'm very different from you in that. Like, I'm a very impulsive person. I like to, as soon as I get excited about an idea, I jump on it, because I like to stay in the flow state. Because when you get excited, that's when it's not work anymore. That's when it's not forced, and I love to work within the flow state. So I mean, I got 5 tattoos. Luckily, I don't regret any of them, but they were all impulsive decisions last second, except for the first one. But I'm a very like you get the idea, catch the idea, and make it real.
Do you have any decisions that your impulsivity has led to that you regret?
I don't regret anything. I mean, obviously there's things that, you know, maybe are embarrassing or something, but like I don't ever live in regret, because I think even losses I take as lessons. There's something to learn from every mistake. That's why I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, if I went back, I would have done this. No, I think it all happened for a specific reason.
Even like errors, like choices you made that were wrong?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It might have hurt people, and obviously you should apologize to them. But errors that I've made, I think they happen so that I could avoid them. But if you don't learn anything from it, then yeah, it's that you should regret that.
You got like the no regrets tattoo across your chest?
No, that's different. That's more like of a YOLO mindset. I don't think that way. I see everything as a lesson. Because if you think in regrets too much, then it's like the woe is me. This should have. I don't like to live in the past. You know, I'm a very future forward thinking person.
Gotcha. But how do you learn from the past if you don't look into it? How do you
Self-analyze.
balance that?
No, you could look into it without regret. You have to self-analyze, right? Like the way I was explaining the betrayal and things. It's changed the way I interact with people now. It's changed the way I look at people. But that only happens, that there was a lot of self-reflection. My chat's heard me say it. I'm like, why did this happen? Like, why did this? I ask a lot of people. I think about it. I reflect. I analyze the people who've done it. And then you start to break down and realize why. And you see all these patterns that you did not see beforehand. Like, oh, this person is a much older content creator in their 50s or something, and they're really bitter. Of course, they're going to be jealous of somebody who has more popularity and is younger. And that jealousy, if they don't analyze it, it's going to manifest into hatred rather than self-analysis. So it makes sense. I understand why this happened. But self-analysis it's very difficult to do. It takes a lot of reflection. But I think, hopefully I'm getting better at it.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you think about like getting better at it and stuff and like reflecting and all this self-work, how do you do it? Like, do you write about it? Do you just sit in a room in the dark and think?
Well, I talk to a lot of people I trust. Yeah, I think a lot, talk to people, talk a lot to my stream, you know. Yeah, I talk to a lot of different people. Part of this reflection is even talking to you, Erudite. I mean, like, you're very different than me, but this is a good example of that self-analysis. You're asking me about my life and what's changed and everything and my views of the past 3 years. I am not used to speaking to somebody like you that analytically about my life. And so that helps you see it from a different perspective. And it helps me take into consideration what you think. That's important. This is all part of the process.
What do you think I think? I'm curious.
It's hard to tell because you don't react to a lot of other people that they react physically, or, you know, they show facial expressions. You kind of, even like when I'm joking around, or you're still like, just like still studying, which is good, which is why I think it puts you in a good position to do, have conversations like this, because you see it from, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I don't know. I mean, I haven't, to be honest, I've seen a lot of your content, but not as much in the past 3 years. I've been watching your stream more recently, but it's hard to figure out, like, and then I see you dancing around with Destiny and that guy's like advocating for violence. I'm like, what is she? To be honest, I don't know.
That's fair. I'm curious what you think I think about you. And to be fair, the poker face is from counseling. I've just done a lot of therapy with like with addicts and stuff. So yeah, we have a top tier. There's nothing you can say when I'm in this mode that will ever get a facial reaction from me, because you can't beat the things that I've been told in therapy.
Yeah, that'll definitely help it. I think
I'm a stoic Chad.
I think that I don't think your chat likes me. And I think that when this call ends, you're going to appeal to them a little bit more than you would like to in this conversation right now. I think that you probably understand and you think that I'm right in a lot of things I'm saying. There's less pushback, but I don't think that your chat or the world you're in does. And so you're going to show more dislike later on, not in a snaky way, but in an adapting way. But I think right now, I don't think you see that many things incorrect with my worldview.
So what do you think are the things that I agree with that I wouldn't own up to?
I think that you really like the sensitivity part. You saying that shows you see a human side of me, and especially you're in a circle where people like to demonize me, and a lot of people don't see me as a human. They don't care to. And they like to hear the hate. And that's what I said in the beginning. People don't want to see my content. They just want to see hate videos on me, even though they were wrong about so much of what I said first. So the fact that you're able to see that shows that, like, maybe you see the good intentions of what I do. You think that it comes from a real place, more than a lot of people. And I also don't think you think I'm a grifter. You talking about the House and Nabi situation, right? Maybe you think it was for monetary reasons, but also it's like, if we're being real, if I was doing it for monetary reasons, I wouldn't have talked about a lot of the shit I talked about.
Okay. I'm going to think about what I want to ask you next.
If you don't have anything, we can leave it as a cliffhanger and do this again sometime.
We can definitely do that. I'd like to maybe reflect with you, like, honestly, about what I do think about you. Is that something you'd be open to hearing?
That's a great.
I don't want to give it to you.
Yeah, great way to conclude.
Do you want to hear it? Because I don't want to give it to you if you don't actually give a fuck.
I do.
Okay. So when I first met you, I very much saw you as the type of person that I think gets misunderstood and passed by kind of like nice society. I don't know if you know much about my history, but I grew up in fundamentalist Christian land. Very, very fundy Christian land. And I'm not into that anymore, but I'm still Christian. And one of the biggest moments of me cleaving from the church, I used to work with high-risk youth at this youth camp. That's where Nick and I met. We worked with gang-affiliated youth and, foster kids and just really rough kids.
A lot of black people.
A lot of black people. Well, it's Canada, so it's Native people. But yeah, we don't have a lot of black people, but we have a lot of Native people. I realized that I couldn't bring any of the kids that I loved to church because they swore and they said inappropriate things and they were loud and they wouldn't be dressed clean and they weren't like very white and proper and prim. And I was like, wow, I hate this place. Like, I hate this. And that's an issue I struggle with a lot with the left as well, is I think like if I go to like my DC meetings with Democrats, I realize that like I could never bring one of my high-risk youth there. They wouldn't like them because they're probably too racist and too bigoted.
I see where
and I think that's in many ways. Yeah. So this is how I felt about you when we first met. And it's interesting because when you were 24, Brittany Simon and I would talk about how like you're just a young guy.
I was 23.
Right?
I was 23. But anyway.
Sure, 23. Yeah. And people would be like, he's an adult. And I'm like, yeah, but he's also just a little guy. He's just learning. He's just learning about life right now. He's on an adventure. He's on his first adventure. Talking to you now, I don't feel that way. I don't feel like this is just some little guy, right? I feel like I'm talking to an adult now. Congrats. And I don't mean this condescendingly. I know that everyone hearing this probably thinks I'm being so condescending.
I like the condescending because it's honest. I like truth. I like
Yeah. So when I talk to you now, I feel like I'm talking to an adult. I think that you have much more securely decided what you think about the world. Whereas I think when it was 3 years ago, you were still trying to decide, which is fine. You're allowed to be 23 and deciding what you think about the world. I'm a little concerned. The art that you've been putting out, it's good. It is good art. It feels like it's missing the like raw SNEAKO-ness that I really loved with like the how to talk to women stuff.
How to view women, yeah.
How to view women. Sorry. Yes. Thank you. I still send that video to like my normies. Like it's still like literally one of my favorite videos. Yeah. Yeah. I'm concerned that in asking you in the 3 years, like what has changed? It feels like what's changed is you've said, I'm not going to be apologetic anymore for fucking anything. You guys don't get a fucking inch from me anymore because you took everything. And I think that that's fair. But I also think that you did make errors. I think that you were unkind and harsh and mean to people that didn't deserve it. And I think people were harsh and cruel and unkind to you and you didn't deserve it.
Fair.
I think there's some level of, like the Holocaust denial and your response in this conversation.
It was $6 million. It happened. Look, my grandfather was a product of the Holocaust. Like, it's something I found out, even more about since we last spoke. He was a Hungarian half Jew, and that's the reason he moved to Haiti and married my black grandmother. He fled Nazi-occupied Europe. He fought in World War II. He fought the Nazis, and he even changed his last name. All this stuff. Like, I have a fake name. I didn't know that last time I talked to you. No, absolutely. I don't remember. I'd never denied the Holocaust.
Okay.
When did I deny the Holocaust?
I feel like there's clips from like Nick Fuentes conversations and stuff like that definitely seem strongly leaning in that direction.
No. Of course it happened. It was exactly $6 million. But I do think that it was important to talk about.
Do you actually think it was exactly $6 million?
No more, no less. Like right on the dot. Like literally exactly.
Okay, yeah.
It's more.
When people saying the Holocaust denial, they don't mean you don't think it happened. It's that you don't think it was as severe.
It was 6 billion. It was 6 billion Jews, and no, but it's more important to talk about the Holocaust going on right now. That's my point. It's like what we keep on harping upon about this, and it's like the one thing people always debate the numbers of every.
This is like the Hassan Piker thing. Why would you accuse me of shocking my dog when there's a Holocaust going on in Palestine?
Well, it's not like I'm shocking any Jews. He's literally shocking a dog. This is like saying, why don't you agree with this narrative of history instead of like I think a lot of that's deflection tactics, and I think people are tired of being.
Well, I'm not deflecting from Palestine.
No, I don't think you are, but I think that's why that's the one thing you're not allowed to like. You can question Pol Pot, you can question the Armenian genocide, you can deny the Holocaust happening now in Gaza and say it's a war, but they don't call you a Holocaust denier there. I think that's hypocritical.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you engage with these more like political topics, the thoughtfulness that I really appreciate with your kind of your intrapersonal, which means like inside thought. It feels like I lose that person. It feels like there's two versions of you that I'm getting access to, which is like the SNEAKO and then the like Hubert, maybe. I don't know what to call. I don't know what would be the right name to give you. I don't want to use like your personal name necessarily, but like it feels like I'm getting two people, and I really like this one. I think this one is very human. I think this is where art comes from. And this one has some great performance. It definitely knows how to go viral. There's stuff to it, but it's an odd experience to ask about the Holocaust. And the main response is like, why do we have to talk about this when there's this, why are we going back in the past? And it's like, probably because it matters to us in the same way that like, there's a certain annoying performance social litmus that people should do over Kirk. And the litmus that they should observe is saying, that was wrong. It was murder and it is intolerable, right? And this is something I've criticized Stephen over, right? Just because he won't do that little performance.
No, he posted joke. He posted a picture of Charlie Kirk's assassination just 2 days ago. That's your friend.
I know.
Like that's just like the blood coming out of his neck. One of the most. It's reprehensible. It's just disgusting. And
I agree.
It's like there's a lot more. I'm not gonna say too much about that guy. I think he's just like completely pathetic at this point, to be honest with you. But I mean, I'm not saying that to look. I'm not saying look. I think we talk about it all the time. There's Holocaust museums everywhere. We learn about it in school. It's the genocide we learn about the most. We've seen the Schindler's List. We've seen all the movies. It's like, okay, we get it. All right, what about anything else in world history? Like, why? This is the one thing. Do you deny this? They don't ask you to deny 9/11. They don't ask you to deny what's going on in Gaza. They don't ask you.
Well, we might have to start doing the 9/11 denials too, because that one's ramping up a lot too.
They probably won't though. This is the one thing that they're like, do you deny? It's like, bro, this is in the 30s and 40s. Like, could we? Is there any other moments in history that we could talk about? That's all I'm saying. But I never denied anything.
I agree that there are other things that we can talk about. I think the important question is, why do people feel that this litmus is so important? And you would assume that there's reasons why it's important, and there's reasons I would assume.
Do you want me to answer that? Why I think that litmus is so important?
Sure, you can.
Yeah, it's because they've run with that victim narrative for so long and it's beneficial. Never forget. It's justified so many actions. It's justified what Israel's doing right now. It's like, oh, we can never let what happened to the Holocaust happen again. I agree, but it doesn't justify all of your actions. When you come from a victim perspective, you could do anything, right? The U.S., 3,000 people died on 9/11. Then we went into Iraq and Iran. 1 million civilians died in Iraq, but we always said 9/11 because 3,000 people died. October 7th is the new one. October 7th. And then they bomb kids for 2 years straight. They use that victim narrative to justify what they really want to do. And maybe what they really wanted was to establish a greater state of Israel. If the Holocaust didn't happen, would they be able to justify the creation of Israel as easily as they did? Probably not. So that's why I think the litmus is so important. It's not because it's like, oh, it can never happen again. Obviously, it should never happen again. But I think people can analyze this a little bit deeper. And the reason that they don't is because they get questions like this, like, do you deny this? Whoa, I'm not an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm. There's a social performativity that people are asking for. And it's interesting because I know that you don't like Stephen, but in many ways, I'm very empathetic to the person who won't observe the social litmus, even when I think that they're wrong to not do it. Now, to be clear, I don't think Holocaust denial is just not observing the litmus, right? When you're saying like, oh, I don't know about the numbers. When we say Holocaust
I didn't even say that. I said it was.
You said 6 million on the dot.
Then, let me ask you, how many was it? How many was it then? You tell me the number.
Over 6. I don't know.
Oh, it was over 6 mil? Would they say it's 6 mil?
So right?
Why are you saying over if they're saying 6 mil?
I have no idea. I'm assuming
you have no idea.
Look it up. I don't. Wait, yeah, but that's not the point, right?
Well, I'm asking, how many do you think it was?
You can look it up if you want. How many died in the Holocaust? Yeah, approximately 6 million. In total, 6 million, blah, 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 blah. I don't know the exact number.
Approximately means it could be. I don't need an exact number, but I mean, I'm just trying to point out the ridiculousness of that question when people say that, because like even Ethan Klein, the genocide supporter, he asked me that, how many was it? And you're supposed to give an exact figure as if I was like a historian or I was there or I checked all the bodies. Like, Or what
Is that what they're asking for?
Yeah, I mean, look, because you said it approximately. What does that mean? Does that mean 5 mil? Does that mean 7? What does that mean exactly? Because if you say it wasn't 6 mil, now you're a denier. But based off of their definition, like this, you see how you could so easily be categorized as an evil Nazi?
I actually think that this is a good demonstration of it's not just that easy, right? I think most people, when they hear my answer, the worst that they would say is be like, "Come on, Kyla, you're talking to SNEAKO. You should definitely know that number off the top of your head." That would be the worst that I would get. And to that, I'd be like, why the fuck would I have this like randomly memorized, right? But I'm like, I don't know, it's probably around 6 mil. That seems like what you're saying, right? The issue is that when you answer it, you were saying it very tongue in cheek, where you go, "Well, do you think it's that?" Because if you think it's 120,000, that's a very different figure.
Well,
right?
but then break down, what does approximately mean? How far is where is the gray area? The reason I say it like that is because I know that it's a weapon used to get your Wikipedia fucked up. It's to silence you. It's to say, "Oh, you're a denier. Gotcha!" Right? It's this gotcha tactic to write you off forever. That's why. That's why.
It's a litmus. It's the social litmus, right? Because when you say approximately, most people would like probably give grace for like 500,000 either side, but they wouldn't give grace for like reducing it by 6 million, because almost every single person who has to reduce it to like 120,000 are doing so to dismiss the genuine tragedy of what the Holocaust is, and that is concerning, right? We don't want to dismiss when like the Holodomor happens and communism destroyed lives. We don't want to like just rush over that. It's really important that communists look at that number seriously. And I don't think like communists, I'm sure you'd agree. Communists need to be very honest with themselves about what the Holodomor is. They need to look at those numbers and they need to understand the implications of the things that they're talking about. They must, because we don't want to redo that history.
Was that done by Stalin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's important too. People rave like, and look, the reason that you could dress up for Halloween, you could dress up as a communist. You could wave the hammer and sickle around at a New York park at a protest. You could wave the communist flag. What happens there? What'd you say?
Oh, there you go. You froze.
No.
You said you could dress up like a communist for Halloween.
Right. So Halloween, you could dress up as a communist, right? You could wave the hammer and sickle at a New York protest. What happens if you dress up like a Nazi?
Yeah, I think we saw it, right?
A great point.
Now, to be clear,
didn't Stalin kill more people?
Reaction.
Stalin killed more people than Hitler. But you could dress up like a communist, but you can't dress up like. And why? It's because only one genocide is used to silence people and is used as the litmus test of morality, right? This one is never measured as a litmus test of morality.
I think the issue is that when evil is simple and the villain is easy to draw, it's a very easy, sexy story, right? Like the Nazi is an easy villain because it's just a group of people being like, no. We've got the worst language ever. Okay, German is basically a disease of the throat, essentially. It's barking and screeching at each other about how they are the Aryan super race.
I kind of like the language. I like that.
That's fair. I think it's a terrible thing. I think it's pretty ugly. But they're screaming about how they are better than others and that Jews need to be put to death as a result because they are staining cockroaches, right? That's a very easy villain. It's a very simple story. Everyone can look at that and be like, wow, that's really bad. Probably don't do that. Stalin committed way more genocides, but the language in which he baked it into is so much more complicated, right? Where it's like, oh, well, it's the kulaks. The kulaks are stealing from us and the kulaks are stealing from the people and we need to give the land back to the people. And Ukraine, look, we're not trying to steal from the people. We just want to have equal, right? And so to paint the villain, while I agree that they're equally evil, to paint the villain, it's harder, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how true that is. I mean, obviously, like movies and media have definitely done that. But if you look back, and a lot of people are seeing like the AI speeches, and it's like, okay, he's talking about communism. That's what Hitler's saying. We need to get rid of communism. He's talking about German nationalism, and he's saying we need to be proud to be German and stuff like that. That superiority thing is definitely exaggerated a lot. If you break down his speeches, if you read Mein Kampf, it's in there as well. Like he does talk about Jews. But it's definitely compared to Stalin. It's like, was he really? Do you think Hitler was more evil than Stalin?
I don't know how to compare those two. I think they're both pretty equally evil. I think they're both horrifying.
Okay, I like that answer. Yeah,
I'm giving you the complexities of why it's hard to view these things equally, right? Because the issue is there's often very unsatisfying answers for why people like fall the way that they do. We were talking about this today. Have you seen the drama with like Nina Lynn and Saeed and
Yeah. You know, she got a 24-hour
phase
ban.
people.
She actually, so it's funny, in the earlier hit piece, they were saying like, oh, essay warning, and it's like me making a joke about feminine, you know, it's like me grabbing essaying my camera, which they try to characterize as essay, and then Nina Lynn is literally sexually assaulting men live on stream. Guess what, Erudite? She gets a 24-hour ban. I'm permabanned. Do you even know why?
Well, just it is the Chad stuff that goes.
No, I didn't even get that. Was on YouTube. I got no punishment for that. That was a joke, and it wasn't even that wasn't essay. That was they all lied about that. They used that clip to try to mischaracterize me. YouTube was 2 misinformation strikes and a cyberbullying strikes for making fun of the eyelashes. Twitch, it was ban evasion, then hateful conduct, and then off-platform behavior. I got banned again for like a 4th time, permaban. I don't even know why. I don't know why. And I'm asking you. It wasn't like chat. Nobody knows what it was.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, this is a big issue with platform transparency, right? I got mass reported and banned in September because of bad empanada, and I got like hateful speech, but the clips that they attached to it, which was only 2, were like, should I show my grandma? Like they were nothingness clips, right? So it's like, okay, well, this is just clearly mass report. So I agree that there's like major issue with transparency. And it's very unfortunate that basically you're probably a victim of YouTube looked at you and said, look, you're an advertiser liability. So any excuse we have to nuke you off the platform, we're going to do it.
I'm an easy guy to ban. Yeah, because I'm loud, provocative, and I make insulting jokes. And like it's easy to look at me. And people, that's why when I get banned, they're like, oh, yeah. That's why they don't care. That's why they don't look into it. Nina Lynn, you need an explanation. You need her sexually assaulting a guy on camera to be like, okay, she deserves it.
Right. I guess the issue is that there's a very uneven stick that I think I'm listening to you apply. Right, when you look at, for example, misdeeds of people on the left, which there are many, it feels like the ruler and the stick that you apply is quite harsh. I think particularly because these are the people who I think were probably the worst to you, probably the least fair, the least giving the benefit of the doubt, which goes a long way, right? I think part of why you're willing to talk to me is that I'm a left-leaning person who gives a lot of benefit of the doubt. Problematically so, many would say. I suspect I could be wrong.
Yeah, you're used to dealing with addicts. You're treating me like a black criminal who had a hard upbringing, who's just misunderstood. I'm that neighborhood kid who needs to be told that there's more. You know, you got so much potential. You don't need to be a gangster. Come, go open up this book. It's like
sort of. You're less empathizable than that because you had 2 parents that were awesome, really good to you, and you grew up going to like normal schools and stuff. So you're a little bit less empathizable than the black criminal.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But the uneven stick that I think is very interesting is when you think about the left and the sins that they've done, and the right and the sins that they've done, or maybe you and your ilks and the sins that they've done. Well, the things that you guys have done, well, there's nothing, and we were right anyways. Whereas when you look at the left, you're like, oh my goodness, horrible, evil,
yeah,
bad.
No, but you're also comparing me, like, okay, I made a joke, like, slapping my camera. This girl literally sexually assaulted a man on camera. Even comparing the two is so ridiculous, and that's why it sounds like I'm being unfair, but, like, because it is. How the fuck am I in the same category as someone who's actually committing a crime? It's not a crime to hit my camera.
How do you think Chad's mom felt?
She probably thought it was a bad joke. I mean, she probably thought it was an offensive joke.
Hold on. No. How do you think Chad's mom felt?
I just told you. I think she was upset. She probably thought it was a bad joke.
Do you actually think that Chad's mom only thought was, wow, that was a really bad joke?
What, did you think I was like scary and that I should get I'm a rapist? No, I don't think so. I thought she saw a guy on a camera making a joke that was out of taste in her point of view.
There's probably some level of like kind of being horrified at like the level of sexualization. I'm sure you've probably experienced it. Like people make sexually offensive jokes about me all the time. I think my main snarkers, they have a clip of me barking and woofing like a dog, and they use it to like sexually degrade me all the time.
Oh, okay.
So I'm used to that. But every now and then I'll get somebody sending me something like a cum tribute or something, and it will just it's just kind of horrifying. Like it just hits a little bit different, and you're like, fuck, man, this is so gross and uncouth. And I don't think that what you're doing is as bad as a cum tribute, obviously.
Thank you.
But
thank you.
You're welcome. You're also not a black criminal. There we go.
Well, I mean, there you go. Look, so yeah, it can be horrifying and disgusting, but yeah, I mean, there's also some funny. I mean, like that is disgusting, and I'm like, actually, I'm sorry you have to see that, but it is kind of funny too, right?
Not at all to me.
Come on,
frankly.
like a little bit funny.
No.
Like in a fucked up way. You don't think that's a little bit disgustingly fucked up and funny?
I might make dark jokes about it in the same way that like
So you see the
I
humor
was
in it.
sexually assaulted. Well, it's not funny. Like, so I was raped as a baby. I was raped as a 2-year-old, like repeatedly. And I make sexy baby jokes all the time. I talk about how I was a super sexy baby. The joke eases the thing, but it doesn't make the rape of the baby okay.
No. But I'm not making jokes about that. I'm making like the situation, like someone printing out. Like, you imagine how pathetic you got to be to print out the piece of paper and do that. Like, what's the, and then taking a picture and all this. It's in a pathetic way.
It's pathetic. It's really pathetic, right? So like the average cum tribute is whatever, but like every now and then it just hits a being like, why does a person think that they get to subject me to this? Like, you can print it out. Why are you sending this to me? Because if you're sending this to me, you mean something by it, right? You know that I'm not going to like it. So you're getting off on the idea that I'm going to potentially see it. It's going to bother me, and that excites you. Right? And I don't think that that's what you were doing, obviously. But I think when you think, how do you think Chad's mother felt about those comments? And you go, she probably thought it was an offensive joke. She probably thought it was more than just an offensive joke. And also, all of the commentary that falls from it, because you don't make a joke in a vacuum. I don't make a joke in a vacuum. You have thousands of young men looking up to you, hearing you make that comment. And I think that that does matter.
Yeah, I mean, if you break down the intentions of the joke were to make fun of feminism. It's I don't care about this woman. I don't know her. I really don't. Like, it's about, maybe there should be more empathy, but it's really about feminism, and it's how most feminists just have a lack of a male presence in their life, and so they gravitate towards this ideology. That's what it's about. It's like this. And I said this at the beginning of the interview. I said the more palatable way to explain it would be blue-haired feminists in their 40s who are unmarried need a man that can take care of them. What I did was a crass way of explaining that. But I mean, it didn't harm anyone. Like, it's my camera. It's not what Nina Lynn did.
I don't think it harmed anyone in the joke itself. I suspect the young boys that look up to you, thinking that this might be a way that they can interface with women, it's probably not super great. This is why when people talk about like the spooky ideas on the internet, the concern about people questioning the genuine numbers of how many Jews were killed, the fear is that younger people will forget what this meant. And they'll forget why it was so important. Or younger people will think that they should emulate this thing, right? Younger men will think that it might be appropriate to like make these types of jokes towards women, or might think that it's kind of funny to talk about roughly sexing up a woman to fix her brain.
Well, I mean,
right?
look,
even though there's,
I think any joke that, sorry to interrupt you, but any joke, if you have good intentions, right? There can be jokes with bad intent; those should stop. I agree with you. But if the intentions of the joke are to make somebody laugh, I'll defend it, even if it's not funny, even if it's, you know, if it offends people. Like, if the intention was to make someone laugh, then I think it's okay. Sometimes people miss. I mean, that's the whole point of conversation. Sometimes you misread the audience. You can misread the room. Happens to the best of us. Sometimes it's tough. But if it wasn't meant to hurt anybody, then I don't think it's wrong.
sure. Was it meant to hurt Chad?
No.
Like, did you say it thinking that she'd think it was funny?
No. If she had, it depends on her sense of humor. I mean, it wasn't really for her. It was for the situations, for the idea of feminism, right? It's to explain that this is just like what a lot of high-strung women who end up like with a cardboard sign at a protest and a mask screaming about abortion. It's like, like, these are not women who have a happy relationship. That's why they're so upset. That's why that's an outward projection. Every action you do is the result of an inward projection. And that's what it was supposed to explain. And maybe, you know, maybe she was able to analyze, and maybe she saw some truth in it. But I don't think like it. Yeah, I think that was over dramatized, and for people to call that sexual assault, I think it's just disingenuous.
Sure. The main thing that I would basically call to is that, you know, if the jokes were genuinely intended to be funny, even if it's not necessarily the audience, the issue is that there's a lot of jokes that I think you have a really big issue with. All of Steven's jokes, I think some of you and I agree aren't good. That get really tricky, right? Like,
no, but
Steven
I
making
see him posting a picture of Charlie Kirk's, like, you know, or making a joke like literally right after he died. That's not, his intention isn't to make people laugh. His intention is to piss off the right. He's become a human rage baiter. This is a person whose intentions aren't to better people. It's like, and if you always see his justification, it's like, Trump did this, so I could do that. The right does this, so I'm going to do that. It's not out of like, genuine jest or out of a happy place. It's out of anger that the right is doing this. That's always his justification. I don't buy it. He likes to piss people off. And that's a really demonic state to live in.
Gotcha. There's no world that you didn't make that joke and knew it was going to piss people off. And probably took some level of delight in pissing off the feminists.
Again, it depends on the amount of, like, I knew that it was going to make people laugh. I knew that it was going to be, it was going to be provocative. But that's like, someone else, you're comparing it to Destiny, that's his pure intention, is a provocateur, is a rage baiter, that's his entire existence.
I do think he genuinely thinks it's funny. I'm not going to lie. As somebody who's talked to him about it and, finger wagged like an old, unk at him as well. I do think he genuinely thinks it's funny. His audience definitely thinks it's funny. He'll say, well, come on, it was a banger. I just will say to him, it's not more funny than it is offensive. And that's the problem.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what you have to measure.
I think that's probably the problem with the Chad is that it seems like the joke wasn't as funny as it was offensive. It was
it goes back to my argument. My intention was to be funny, was to make fun of feminism. It wasn't that was the overall intention. It wasn't just to be a provocateur.
Sure.
You don't believe that?
I do believe you. I don't think that you're making a substantive difference. When I'm talking about the measuring sticks, this is where it feels like the measuring sticks are uneven, right? Where the difference that you're drawing here isn't substantive enough for me to go, oh, that makes sense why this joke would bother you, this wouldn't. It's just kind of like the jokes that I like that are targeting the topics that I think are harmful can be funny. Whereas it's like,
do you think it's equivalent, like making fun of a girl, like saying that somebody needs rough sex, in a consensual relationship? People are saying it's assault. No, it's like she needs like a relationship where somebody can.
Yeah, I disagree. It wasn't I agree.
Okay,
it wasn't assault.
There you go. Do you think that's equivalent? Do you think that's equivalent to making fun of somebody who's just assassinated in front of his children? Do you really think that's on the same playing field?
I think that they are both similarly inoffensive, because your joke wasn't just she needs rough sex. It was feminists need rough sex to get their head on straight. And if they just had a strong man, they'd quit being a blue-haired, silly little girl.
Oh my God, you're spitting.
Well, it's a complete dismissal.
Yeah, that was such what you just said, like you're cooking right now.
And so that's the thing that a lot of feminists are gonna be like, this is like everything. If you think about Chad, because she's much more feminist than I am. Like she's much further. She's probably a feminist who would call me a pick-me girl.
You're a Christian. That automatically puts you in that category. They might even call you a Nazi just because of that. You're a white Christian.
Sure.
You're
and
a Nazi.
So, for her worldview, you are doing like one of the greatest. Your joke is one of the greatest violations of things that she holds sacred, right? Especially because feminism, for a lot of women that are this strong of feminism, that's like their main personality trait. Mm-hmm. And so you're violating like one of the most fundamental things to her. So in that way, it's like, what's quite offensive, right? Not only you're doing very egregious sexual actions. If you were Elvis Presley, you'd be booted from the stage immediately. Do you know that history of Elvis Presley?
Well, he got booed because he was a white guy?
He got booted off stage for making like sexual, livacious gestures with his hips while singing.
Then MJ does it and he's celebrated.
Well, yeah, it was like 40 years later.
Yeah, different time. Yeah.
Elvis Presley, he broke the way. Right. Anyways, the joke fell flat. God, I hate fucking litigating humor. What I'm pointing at is, do I think your joke's in the same realm? It depends on who you ask is kind of the issue, right? Like,
well, I just explained the intention. I don't want to keep going in circles about it, but like I just explained the intention of it is to dismantle the ideas of feminism and the ways women adopt their political ideology, right? The other thing, making fun of somebody who just died, like what are you trying to say that getting shot is funny? Like, is that what's the purpose? What's the intention?
I think he was pretty clear about his intention, right? His intention was to say, it's insane that you would hold me to a higher standard than you would hold the president.
What does that have to do with posting a picture of Charlie Kirk? How's that?
Is that still to this day, while Trump won't denounce any violence on the right, he won't denounce it, he won't call down for a cooling. He keeps on demonizing the left. He keeps on calling the left terrorists. He's trying to list left organizations who aren't terrorist groups as domestic terrorists. He would probably say, now to be clear, I don't agree with him on this. I don't agree with the performance that he's doing, but I don't disagree with the point. Just like I might not disagree, many people won't disagree with the point you're trying to make with the Chad joke. But I would say to him is, it's just too offensive. It's just too offensive. I get what you're trying to make here as a joke. It's
also just
doing
have
a
like,
disservice.
I want to move. I don't want to keep talking about this fucking guy, but it's just like basic common respect for people. Like that you know, that this is just. Anyway.
That's fair.
Yeah. Before we got into this whole thing, I think you were getting somewhere before where we were wrapping this up about what you truly think, and then somehow you brought up the Holocaust, and then we got derailed. It was, but I guess.
Oh yeah, I was.
It was getting. I remember some conclusion was coming, and then you brought up the 6
There was a
mil.
conclusion coming. Yes. I was talking about my views of you, which is that like I don't view you as like an at-risk youth. I was talking about how like in many ways it seems like you've come into your own, right? Like you're much more assured and stuff like that.
I remember I had a point. I was going to say that over the past 3 years, like the stuff that I've been through, and I'm grateful that I've been through. I think it's a good way to wrap it up. I'm grateful for all this. I'm grateful for the hardships. I'm grateful for the challenge because it makes you into a better person. If you're able to overcome obstacles, you come on the other side as a better man. And I've learned a lot from this, and I've been through so much in the past 3 years that it's helped me become a better person. And so you said the thousands of young men that watch me, I would highly recommend if they're in their late teens and early 20s to embrace challenge, embrace difficult situations. Don't live in regret. Try to find the lessons and all the failures and all the obstacles, because that's how you mold yourself into a more complete person. Like the same reason you go to the gym and try to get your muscles to tear down and feel pain, you got to do the same thing in life. Embrace the unknown. You're going to have to go through something in order to be complete. You need character development. Nobody's going to watch a movie where the protagonist isn't going through something extremely painful. So it's good. Embrace it head on, and hopefully you'll come out as somebody more interesting and more capable completely. Thanks so much. I look forward to doing this again, maybe when you have time to do some preparation. But like I said, I'm impulsive, spontaneous. Got to get it done.
Yeah, I think we should talk again. There's some stuff I want to interrogate. I'll flesh out my thoughts more and then fire you an invite.
Okay, we could do it in approximately 6 million seconds. How about that?
6 million for all the Jews that died in the Holocaust. Thank
Oh
you.
my
Very
God.
noble of you.
All
A moment of
right.
silence, really.
No, actually, don't
minutes.
be insensitive. There were a lot of gay people and Polish people who also died in the Holocaust. So the fact that you leave them out means I don't think that you have empathy for them.
I really don't care about Polish people like at all. They can all just go.
Have a good one. Talk soon. Thanks.
Have a good one.
All right,
Bye.
she's funny, man. That was fun. That was a good way to end.